to the children from this school that my wife teaches at. So she sure. So he came over, he chatted to them all, he got all their names, he asked them all their names, and then he went off to get his lunch, because people, I turn up and just, Filch is not in the films all the way through, but Daniel and the other two, they virtually lived on the set, because they were in just pretty much every scene. So his breaks, lunch breaks, sleep breaks, homework, his schooling, everything had to be done on the studio set. So he took time off to talk to them. And then a year later, I turned up to do the next film. And I go into the makeup room, and the first person I see is Daniel. And he says, Dave, he gave me an envelope. And I said, I'm sorry it's taken so long. And he gave me this big envelope. And inside were about a dozen full-size 10x8 photos of Daniel as Harry Potter, signed by him personally to every kid who he'd met a year before. And he didn't have to do that. Can you imagine the number of letters he gets from all over the world? Millions, you know. And I thought, what a nice thing to do, what a nice guy, to remember that. And you know, after a year, and of course when I took the photos to the school, the kids were just delighted. I thought it takes a special kind of person with such a busy life and career that he's got to do that. So I admire, he's great, yeah.
Thanks for the question. Then we'll go over to this side. What's your name? What's your question? We've got about 10 minutes, so we're going to race through these last ones.
Hi, my name's Dariella. I was just wondering, do you have any strategies for getting into character?
Dariella, and she's saying, have you got any strategies for getting into character?
Not really, it depends. With Filch, for example, I turn up every year to do another film, and as soon as I see myself with that wig and get the old raggy costume on, and I put the fake teeth in, I feel like, I feel like I'm back in it. But when you're first working on a character, the very first time, it takes you a while to find the way that character speaks, his mannerisms, or how he behaves. But after a while, I got so familiar with him, it was like putting a pair of my favourite shoes on, and as soon as I got them into the gear, I felt right there, and I felt quite at home with it. So there isn't a strategy as such. It's just doing the work before you start. The strategy is to find what you're doing, how that character behaves, and how they look, and how they talk, and everything, and how they move. But once you've found that, coming back to it I found quite easy. Yeah.
Does the costume help?
The costume helps, yeah. My daughter was asked by her teacher at school, said, how long does it take your dad to look like that? And she said, well, he has makeup, dots on his face, and the hair glued on, and he puts the teeth in, and he puts the costume in. Put about 45 minutes altogether. And the teacher said, yeah, but that nose, how long does that take? She said she didn't have the heart to say it's his own.
Thanks for that question, Dariella. We'll stay on that side, and the next question from...
My name's Mark. Two questions briefly. First of all, do you feel they could have developed the character of Filch? And secondly, based on your theatre roots, what was your favourite play, or what play would you want to do next?
What play would I want to do next? Yeah. Probably King Lear, but I'm getting a bit old for it now. But yeah, so if anybody knows anybody who wants to do King Lear, tell them to hurry up.
And the other question was, do you think they could have developed Filch more in the films?
I think because Filch is one of those characters that never changes. You feel he's been around forever, and the thing about him is he's always the same, and he doesn't get any wiser or doesn't develop in the sense of thinking, oh, maybe I should be nicer to the children, maybe I should learn from this. Like a lot of characters in drama, they learn from their experiences and get to be either better or worse people. But Filch is so stuck that he felt he's always lived in the same costume, and probably, I don't know how often he gets a shower, I don't like to think, but I don't think he's someone who ever would change, and I think that's part of the fun of playing him, that's what he's like.
Thanks for that, Mark.
Thank you.
Cheers. We've got this side and that side of it. The last one with Rory. So, what's your name? What's your question?
Hi, I'm James.
Hey,
James.
If you could play any other Harry Potter character, who would it be?
Oh, I think I'd say Dumbledore, but when I see what these great actors have done with it, I think no, it's so perfectly cast, and they had a choice of anybody in the world, and I think they chose well. So I love the character of Dumbledore, and I love him as a human being, and his wisdom but I wouldn't play any other character but Filch, because I think they got it right the first time with the others.
Okay.
But,
Thanks.
Thanks, James. We go over to this side now, and it is, what's your name and what's your question?
My name is Finley, and I was wondering, what was it like to film with the cast in the first few films that was mainly like children?
what
What was it like filming in the first few films where it was just children, where you filmed it mainly with children?
Yeah, well, it was a bit difficult because they weren't trained actors as such, the main three. So they learnt to act better as they got older. And how can you tell when you pick a 10-year-old child to be in a film whether they can handle issues of getting older, like adolescence and falling in love and falling out of love and being in great danger? Because when they're 10 or 11, as Daniel, Rupert and Emma were to start with, and when we did the very first scene, the first scene I shot was coming out of the castle on the way to the Forbidden Forest, to Hagrid's hut. And I'm saying, oh yes, I'll miss the old punishments, and we're going to the Forbidden Forest and all that. And after a take, the director would say, Daniel, you're smiling. Filch is going to take you to a terrible place. Stop smiling. Okay, so we do it again, we do the scene again. Daniel, you're still smiling. And he stopped smiling, but Rupert would be smiling. And so it took a few takes for him to say, this is the worst day of your life. Filch is taking you to where there are werewolves, and he's in great danger. Stop it. Just look terrified, So, and then I'd say something funny too, just to get him going, Because the director would sometimes say, just make a line up like, and I'd say like, God, oh, Mr. Screaming, and that would get the kids laughing because they weren't expecting it. And so it took a while, a lot of takes for them to get it right. Of course, Emma was just perfect. She got it right the first time, and she was, she took great pride in being very professional, whereas the boys were prone to giggling when they weren't supposed to do. And it's just charming, really. And they say, never work with kids and animals, but I got both.
Fantastic. Thanks for your question. Is it cool? And we're going to finish now. Yeah, we've just got enough time for one more. We've started with Rory. We're going to finish with Rory. Rory, what's your final question?
I have a question. So, like last time, it was what was your favourite? So this time it's going to be 2 questions actually. So, what was your favourite script? Oh, I'll be a bit quieter.
Step back a little bit. Not that far. There you go. That'll be fine. Go on.
And what was your favourite? And did anyone actually? No, that wasn't my question.
What's your favourite script? Just do that one.
What was your favourite script? And and I wanted to ask, who messed the most in, like, if there was a 3v3 battle, who messed the most in all of the movies you did? Oh,
Who messed around most in the movies?
yeah.
Who messed around most in the movies? Who was the biggest
Thank you.
troublemaker?
Oh, Michael Gambon again. Why? Because, we did a scene in the Great Hall, and where all the kids were camping out because the Dementors were on their way, and so the kids all had to sleep in the hall. So you had hundreds of kids in sleeping bags in the Great Hall, and me, Dumbledore, and Snape were prowling with our torches, making sure all the kids were in bed, and the scene was a very tense scene because the kids had to sleep in the hall because it was a great danger with the Dementors hovering. And what we didn't know was that